What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. I want to talk about two men who would grace the audiences with 4 fights. Ike Williams and Willie Joyce. Now, Ike Williams is to your left and Willie Joyce is to your right. Ike would win 1, and Willie Joyce would win 3 fights. Let's get reacquainted with both men, their careers, their resumes, and their 4 stellar fights. Now, Ike Williams, his name was Isaiah Williams. He was known as the Trenton Thunder. Born August 2nd, 1923 in Brunswick, Georgia. He died September 5th, 1994. He stood 5 foot 9.5 inches, weighed 128 to 155 pounds. He was managed by Joe Woodman, Frankie Palermo, and Eddie Mead. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting Ike Williams 5 separate occasions. 3 of the 5, we went into conversations that lasted well over an hour. And throughout those meetings, yes, we talked about his ring career, talked about the fighters. But Ike wanted to specifically engage me with not only the science of boxing, but the dirty business that went along with it. He talked to me about Kid Gavilan, talked to me about Johnny Bratton, talked to me about Jimmy Carter. Lost to Jimmy Carter in 1951. 14 rounds of brutal hell. He was dropped 4 times before he was stopped. And he would lose his World Lightweight Championship belt. Went into details about that fight with me. What was interesting about Ike Williams, he talked about the Johnny Bratton fight. You know, Johnny Bratton went 9 rounds with Ike Williams with a broken jaw. Ike Williams had faced Enrique Bolaños 3 separate occasions. Now, Ike Williams had 196 total bouts, 127 wins, 24 losses, 61 knockouts. Began his professional debut March 15, 1940. New Brunswick. And his last fight was April 12, 1955 in Augusta, Georgia. He was in the ring with fighters such as Sammy Engot and Tippy Larkin, Luther Slugger White and Gene Burton, Enrique Bolaños, Vic Cardell, Joe Marcelli, and Freddie Dawson, Johnny Bratton, Lester Felton, Bobby Ruffin, Cleo Shane, Jimmy Carter, Jesse Flores, Ralph Zanelli, Jed Black, Charlie Solis, Joe Maselli, Lulu Castellino, Kid Gavilan, Bob Montgomery and Bo Jack, Juan Zarita, Gil Turner, and Jimmy Carter. Also being in the ring with Carmen Basilio and Chuck Davey, Fritzy Putin, and Benny Walker, Sonny Boy West. He sparred with Fritzy Zivic several times, but he was in the ring with Fritzy Putin and many other fighters. But just to give you an idea of the caliber of fighters Ike Williams was in the ring with. And the thing about Ike Williams, he was perhaps one of the hardest right-hand punchers in the lightweight division that has ever lived. You had great fighters such as Joe Gans, Benny Leonard, Roberto Duran, Shane Mosley. But my God, Ike Williams could punch. He'd face Bo Jack 3 separate occasions. 1948, at the Philadelphia Arena. 6 rounds of brutal hell. The knockout that Bo Jack would suffer under the hands of Ike Williams is almost criminal. Willie Joyce. His name is William Joyce. Born Chicago, Illinois. Stood 5 foot 6 inches, weighed 133 to 145 pounds. He was managed by Izzy Klein. Had a total bout career of 119 bouts, 71 wins, 21 losses, 16 knockouts, and 1 no contest. Began his professional debut November 10th, 1937, and he ended his career March 24th, 1947. He was in the ring with Pete Lelo, Bobby Ruffin, Chalky Wright, Tippy Larkin, Jackie Wilson, Bo Jack, Bob Montgomery, and Lou Jenkins. Fought him 3 times. Loose the Slugger White, Mike Evans, Henry Armstrong, 4 separate occasions. Oh, Willie Joyce was a hell of a fighter. He was something else. He's very underrated. He was a hell of a fighter. Would also take on Albert Chalky Wright, Leo Ruddock, Johnny Bratton twice, Tippy Larkin 3 times, Chester Slider. Stood in the ring with Bobby Ruffin, Ali Stokes, Ray Lunny, among others. November 13th, 1944. Ike Williams would lose to Willie Joyce, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Ike Williams would throw punches to the head and body. Willie Joyce would slip and jab himself. And at the end of the 10th round, Willie Joyce's hand would be raised. January 8th, 1945. Ike Williams would defeat Willie Joyce. He defeated him in 12 rounds. Joyce weighed 136 pounds. Ike Williams weighed 134 pounds. He would fight at the Philadelphia Convention Center. That was a doozy. The audience was well satisfied. Both men would throw punches, body and head. But the dancing master was Ike Williams, as he would slip, rock his head from side to side, as he would jab to the pit of his stomach and jab to the nose of Willie Joyce. Ike Williams would tell me about that fight. He would explain to me the power that Willie Joyce really did have. But he said Willie Joyce was a slickster. And he can control you with just his body reaction alone. They would meet once again March 2nd, 1945. This time, Ike Williams would lose 12 rounds. Willie Joyce would defeat Ike Williams. They would face each other in New York's Madison Square Garden. Over 20,000 spectators. Willie Joyce, as I said, from the conversation that I had with Ike Williams, was a slicker. He could move. He knew how to feint. Knew how to tie you up. Had every combination in the book. He would use those tools on the night of June 8th, 1945. Ike Williams would once again lose to Willie Joyce in 10 rounds. They would also fight in New York's Madison Square Garden, but this time Ike Williams was the crowd favorite. But unfortunately, the crowd couldn't uplift the morale of Ike Williams. Willie Joyce would defeat Ike Williams once again. April 18th, 1945, Ike Williams would finally get his shot against Juan Zorita, Mexico City, Mexico. And he would stop Juan Zorita in 2 rounds. That was a fight before his fight June 8th, 1945 with Willie Joyce. And ironically, he would lose in 10 rounds after he would win the title against Juan Zorita. And he would have those magical fights with Bo Jack. My God. The first one they fought, 1948 in Philadelphia. And the reason why Ike Williams would pour it on to Bo Jack was because of the Bob Montgomery circumstance. You see, as I was explaining to you at the beginning of our conversation, Bob Montgomery was always the crowd favorite in Philadelphia. Obviously, he was a native of Philadelphia. He was also the NBA lightweight champion, as he would go back and forth with Bo Jack, 1943 and 1942. But the reason why the mayor and the governor did not appreciate Ike Williams, so much so, that even though he knocked out Bob Montgomery in 6 rounds in Philadelphia, they would still consider Bob Montgomery the lightweight champion. They considered Bob Montgomery, the lightweight champion, when he owned the New York Sack lightweight championship belt. And Ike Williams would hold the NBA lightweight championship belt. That's really why they had to mix it up. Because the city of brotherly love considered Bojack the real lightweight champion. Why did they feel this way? Because Ike Williams was affiliated with the Philadelphia crime family. You see, the manager that he would have representing him was Frankie Palermo. And the mayors and governors were trying to apprehend Blinky Palermo and Mr. Gray, who was Frankie Palermo. And they couldn't quite catch them. Ike Williams, who's under representation of Frankie Palermo, was not very well liked because of that. And because he felt that way, when he got in the ring with Bojack, he outboxed Bojack. It was a very good fight during the course of the match. But towards the end of the 5th round, Bojack would throw his famous bolo punch, uplifting the root of the side top tooth of Ike Williams. Ike Williams didn't appreciate that. He was a family man, somewhat of a playboy. You would find Ike Williams with a fedora hat. He would have a pinstripe suit, a well-dimpled tie, and wingtip shoes, shinier than a baby's backside, as they say. And that really upset Ike Williams to the point where he would pour it on with Bojack, getting him up against the ropes with a 47 unanswered punch combination, luring him to the right corner of the ring. And he beat him half to death, my God. But as you know the story of Bojack, Bojack would tell you, his grandmother, who lived to be 112 years old, beat him half to death with a belt and syllables stating, no walker would run from no one. His name was Sidney Walker. But those matches with Willie Joyce, who in my opinion, one of 4 great lightweight champions. Although Willie Joyce was never a champion, but he had the heart of one. You had Bojack, Ike Williams, Willie Joyce, and Bob Montgomery. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters would never be forgotten on my channel. Ike Williams and Willie Joyce. Oh, these two men. When you put them up against other great lightweights, oh, that's a tough conversation to have. Ike Williams was a devastating puncher, had a beautiful jab, knew how to move from side to side, light on his feet. My dad met Ike Williams several times. Actually knew him personally. Because besides the gyms of New Jersey, Ike Williams would also train in Stillman's gym. My dad had the pleasure of seeing Ike Williams bang the heavy bag, rock the speed bag, skip rope, and shadow box. He watched him spar several times. Learned a lot of tricks from Ike Williams. My dad also met Willie Joyce. And although Willie Joyce was out of Chicago, Willie Joyce would often spar with Johnny Bratton, who was also from Chicago. But Willie Joyce would often be spotted in Stillman's gym as well. You see, Stillman's gym was in the heart of Manhattan, and you would have to pass Stillman's gym to get to Madison Square Garden. So that would be the local stop for out-of-town fighters. And they would all stop at Stillman's gym because that was the place to be. So my dad saw him there often, had conversations with Willie Joyce, and told me himself personally, oh, what a fighter he was. That gym would be loaded with lightweights and featherweights. Sandy Sadler, Vic Cardell, Ike Williams, Bojack, Willie Joyce, and many, many others. So thanks for watching. As I discussed these two great lightweights, and I get choked up when I talk about them, because Ike Williams suddenly died in his apartment. Very suspicious to me, considering he would have a conversation with the federal government, State Athletic Commission, 1960. He would talk about the dives that he was approached to take with Kid Gavilan and Johnny Bratton, Enrique Bolanos. Enrique Bolanos was a very good Mexican fighter who fought out of California. Ike Williams would face him 3 times. And some of the victories were suspect. Enrique Bolanos definitely won at least one, perhaps 2 of those fights. And Ike Williams talked to me about that. And he brought that up in Congress. But when Ike Williams was found in his apartment dead, I was upset for about a month. As I stated, I had conversations with this man 5 separate occasions. He was one of the nicest men that you would ever meet. But what a hell of a fighter he was. Oh. My dad didn't take it too well either. So thanks for listening. Once again, Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. Ike Williams and Willie Joyce. Willie Joyce and Ike Williams. Bob Montgomery and Bojack. Patty DeMarco. He had so many. Al Bundy Davis. And, you name them. Bobby Ruffin was a very good fighter as well. Ralph Zanelli, he was something else. When Ike Williams faced Charlie Solis, he moved up to welterweight. Couldn't quite take the punches. But like I said, he mixed it up with so many. Tippy Larkin and Sammy Angotten. Enrique Bolanos. Carmen Basilio, Fitzy Putin. Sonny Boy West. Unfortunately, Sonny Boy West would die after suffering a right hand in the ring. All right, until next time. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Ike Williams comes out for round 1 in the lighter trunks. The challenger, Bojack, is wearing the black trunks with the white stripe. Ike Williams, with back to camera, won the world lightweight title in 1947, just last year, when he KO'd Bob Montgomery in Philadelphia. The champion has defended the world lightweight title once. Ike took a unanimous 15-round decision over Enrique Bolanos just 6 weeks ago in Los Angeles. Bojack, here forcing the action in round 1, tying up Williams, won the lightweight title in 1942, 6 years ago, when he KO'd Tippy Larkin in New York. Bo then lost the world lightweight title to Bob Montgomery in 1943, and then regained it once again 4 months later in a 15-round decision. Bojack, to the left of your screen, can bomb with both hands. Champion Ike Williams is known as a boxer puncher. Williams, with back to camera, has a crisp left jab. throwing ripping punches here in round one. Bojack throwing bombs. And there's the end of round one. The champion, Ike Williams, won round two with accurate counterpunching. Here in round three, it's still very close. Both men weighed in this afternoon at exactly 135 pounds. Since winning the world lightweight title 1 year ago, Ike Williams has won 9 straight fights. Ike's last fight was his title defense against Enrique Bolanos. Both of these men are known as great fighters. They both have a tremendous following. In his last fight 6 weeks ago, Bojack won a 10-round decision from the hard-hitting Tony Gennaro in Washington, D.C. Both men ripping punches to the body. Bojack likes to fight in close. Ike Williams likes to box at long range. The champion, Ike Williams, is 25, 2 years younger than Bojack. Stinging punches by Ike Williams. Ripping punches by challenger Bojack. Bo wants to get that title back. Ike Williams began his professional career in 1940, 8 years ago. In 103 professional fights, the champion has won 90, a great record. And there's the end of round three. Round four was scored evenly. Here in round five, both fighters are still very sharp, both looking to score a clean knockout. Of the 6 fights the champion Ike Williams has won this year, the most notable was a hard-fought 10-round decision over Kid Gavilan in New York City. Bojack staying all over champion Williams. The referee separates the two fighters. Bo loves the infighting. years ago. Bo's manager, Chick Wergeles, says his fighter has trained very hard, and he's very confident that Bo will regain the world lightweight title tonight. Both men throwing bombs in there. Williams coming on strong, and Bojack comes right back. With two punches to the body and a right to the head. Williams ripping punches on Bojack. Bo staggers backward into the corner. Dynamite punches by Ike Williams. Rapid fire lefts and rights. And finally, Williams appeals to the referee to stop the fight. He thinks that Bojack is helpless. Ike turns to the referee. He wants the ref to step in there. The referee doesn't heed Williams. Ike pours it on once again, and finally the referee steps in. It's all over. Ike Williams wins a hard-fought sixth-round KO victory over the courageous Bojack. Williams considered by many to be one of the greatest lightweight champions of all time, along with Joe Gans, Benny Leonard, Barney Ross, and Henry Armstrong.
Frankie Carbo, Blinky Palermo. Got the best of Ike Williams. Left him dry. And Ike Williams was very trustworthy, if you will. He put on the handcuffs most of his career. He could beat most of the guys that he lost to. But if the mob could clean up by putting substantial amount of money on a possible 4-round knockout, and at the last minute, Ike Williams deciding to go the distance in exchange for Ike getting fights, Ike would do it. It put food on the table. It was insurance. Imagine Ike Williams fighting tonight. You would rush home and make sure everything was set. Everything was set. Because you couldn't miss Ike Williams fights. Never knew what combinations would knock a man out. Never knew what new techniques you would learn, and how quickly that man would be diffused. That was on the other side of this great fighter. Shout out to Ike Williams.